They feel unrefined. It's like somebody took the figure, took the design, and got about 70 to 80% of the way complete, and then somebody higher up said, okay, good enough, ship it. Alright already, let's give this old bastich a shot. Well, hello there everybody, I'm Photo Dave and this is Toypixx, and hey, Toypixx is all about helping you and helping me get a whole lot better at our action figure photography, so if that sounds cool to you, go ahead and click subscribe while I describe what's going on here. Now, from the intro, I'd say we're looking at a pretty obvious description. I was called out. I ripped on McFarlane Toys. I said 70 to 80% complete, out the door. And somebody said, no, Lobo. Lobo. Get you some Lobo. So, I got me some Lobo, and so now I'm just wondering, was I right in my criticisms, or does this figure prove me wrong? Let's get to it. So before we really get to dissecting the DC Universe's favorite motorcycle riding bounty hunter, I figure I should talk a little bit about me as a picky collector. What makes me a picky collector? One, I'm in the 1/12 scale realm. Now, that so much isn't about being picky as much as it is about budget. If I had all kinds of money, I'd dive more into 1/10/7" figures, because there's a lot of lines in that scale that are pretty cool. But what else makes me a picky collector? I like extra hands. I like extra heads. I like great articulation. I want the figure to look like how the figure's supposed to look. Those are the things that make me a picky collector, because frankly, I want them to look good in front of the camera. That's the whole purpose of this channel. That's half of why I collect these things. So there you go. On the low end, when it comes to being a picky collector and meeting those criteria, it tends to be Action Force. Now, I do collect a lot of G.I. Joe. That's more nostalgia. I'm sick. I'm hoping that they start making extra hands and heads for those. They're not there yet. So right now, I would say on the low end, we're looking at Action Force at about $32, and everything higher, those tend to be a lot more complete figures. I mean, they should come with those hands and heads, and they should come with the accessories that make sense to them. So when I'm talking complete figures, I can't really judge Lobo here, because he's just not in the price point to be a complete figure. But there are other things I can talk about. I can talk about how he looks, I can talk about his articulation, and from there, let's get cracking on the aesthetics of the good Mr. Lobo. So one thing I will give McFarlane Toys all day, with the exception of some weird proportions here and there, is their sculpt work. The figures always look great. Whoever they've got sculpting the line does a remarkable job. These guys just look good. Now, I've got a little bit of a problem with Lobo's head. That has more to do with the Jennifer Aniston hair, but I'll be honest, I didn't really look at the source material. Maybe that's how the artist drew him up, and if so, I have more of a problem with the artist than I do the person who did the design of the toy. But he's got all kinds of good things going on here. Look at the detail on the vest. He's got the spikes up top. He's got crazy wrinkles throughout his shirt. He's got what looks like tears or maybe some laser holes or something in his shirt as well. He's got a great buckle, silver paint around there. That all looks really good. He's got on the fingers a little bit of paint. I mean, he looks good. The sculpt is fantastic. One of my favorite parts is right here. I think that is insanely well done and insanely hilarious. That's Lobo to a T. So I thought that was really cool. He's even got the painted buttons going around the back of the belt, although those lines from the jeans over the belt, those are the same color as the belt, so I'm not going to bust him too hard on missed paint apps, because a lot of toy lines in this price range, they have all kinds of missed paint apps, so I won't hit him too hard there. Jeans are sculpted well, got plenty of great skull looks on the knee pads. I mean, the detail is always there. It's always there on McFarlane figures. I have to give him that. I can't bust him there. Whoever, like I say, is doing the design work is crushing it. But one thing I said in that video is that I had a manager who used to tell us all, perfection is the enemy of good enough. And I took that as kick butt, do our best job possible, and do our best to meet the deadline with the best work out there. And my coworkers took it more as, oh, well, if perfection's the enemy of good enough, I guess we can just turn in average work and be fine. And that's what I feel like happens with DC Multiverse. Here, and it's not going to show up too great on camera, the face is a totally different color than the neck is a totally different color than the arms. Now, I forgive the neck and the fingers a little bit. Those are obviously painted using the same color, and they're close to matching the arms, so I'm not too crazy about that. But the fact that the face, let's see if we can show it a little better here. The fact that the face is that nice stark white, and the body itself is that gray. The design was great, the sculpt is great, the mold is great, but somewhere along the line, somebody decided that was good enough. He doesn't need to have skin that matches all over him. Now, I know that oftentimes these are the same, or, I'm sorry, different kinds of plastic, and that makes it harder to come really close to a color match, but I can't imagine that it would have been too hard to make fairly solid white plastic like he's got going on his face there, or to make that face a little more gray like he's got going on the arms. And since they painted the neck and painted the fingers, I don't understand why the holes in his shirt weren't painted as well. So it's those things. It's like there's always somewhere down the line with McFarlane figures that is a mess. And like I said, this guy looks great. He looks, I mean, whoever sculpted him, great job. The proportions look great. He's a big monster-like looking dude like Lobo should be, so I'm not upset at all about that look. But when it comes to simple things like not coming close to matching the skin tone, that's what I'm talking about when it feels like these things are kind of rushed out the door. I wish they'd take care of that. I think I like McFarlane sculpts enough where I would like to get into Multiverse, but there's just some things that need to happen first. Alright, so, with that out of the way, let's talk articulation. Now, articulation-wise, I'm not a guy that's great at showing articulation. There's plenty of other reviewers that do that much better. I will say this, he's got great articulation for a big guy. He's got bicep swivel, which is nice to see. Let's see if I can focus it up a little bit. He's got a little bit of butterfly going on, a little up and down in the hinge. It's a good look. I mean, he's pretty good. He's pretty solid. I mean, whoever it was that suggested Lobo, I mean, that's pretty good range in the elbow and all that. They probably did send me pretty much the best thing that Multiverse has to offer. Because he's a good figure. He moves well. Kick out like that. Kicks out pretty good. Pretty well, I'm sorry, English. And he's got a really great bend at the knee. I like what McFarlane does with the joints at the ankles and at the wrists so that they can go up and down and side to side. I think that that's great. Really a big fan of the articulation on this guy. So, not much to say there. Let's see here. Obviously, you can't look up too much. This hair is kind of rubbery, but he can look down really well, and this is something else. He's got pretty good crunch. He'll have a little bit of gapping going on back there, but if he's crunching like this, he's probably looking down at something, and you don't need to worry about that gapping so much. So, it's really got pretty good articulation. So again, I've got a pretty good representation here, I think, of what DC Multiverse can do. Woo! Okay, stay back there, Lobo. Now, one way it does fall short in are the accessories, and, well, let's get to that part. As far as accessories go, it's the one area that I really think DC Multiverse is lacking, not only because of what they don't include, but because of what they do include. I don't need a trading card. I don't need a stand. And before you try busting me on the Action Force stands, I don't need those either. I wish they'd get rid of those and improve, like, lower neck articulation. But yeah, I mean, anybody that's been collecting these things for a while probably knows how to stand up their figures, and if they need a stand, that's on the designer, not the collector. So yeah, these are pretty much just garbage accessories, the way I collect anyway, so I'm not going to worry about those. He did come with this chain thing that is really cool. I do like this. I didn't like it at first because it's a super bendy, like, I mean, probably shouldn't do that. But this is a super flexible chain, but it wrapped around his forearm really well, and it's not going to break. That's the one nice thing about this kind of plastic. You're going to have to really tear at it to get it to break, or just cut it, but it has the right look, it has a great sculpt, it just looks good. So that one accessory is a really impressive accessory. I will say that as much as I like the sculpt, and as much as I like that accessory, one thing that could put him over for me, well, several things, I guess, that could put him over, and would actually make me buy this figure, like, obviously I bought this one, but that would make me invest in a DC Multiverse Lobo, because this one scales well with my Mafex Superman, would be if Todd released a deluxe pack of Lobo, his motorcycle, dog, and a couple fists, along with this figure just painted correctly. And I would totally get that, because I would think that's pretty much most of what I need out of a Lobo figure. And I'm sure that if Warner Brothers says Todd can't be using guns in his stuff, they probably also don't think he should be using cigars or anything either, so I'd have to get those secondhand, but that doesn't bother me. I think if McFarlane Toys were to release this guy, painted properly, plus fists, plus dog, and plus a motorcycle, I'd actually pick it up, because I think it's pretty good. It's just the careless paint that bugs me. So to answer the question, does Lobo here change my mind? Is it possible that by looking at Lobo, I no longer believe that DC Multiverse is full of figures that are rushed out at 70 to 80% completion because, hey, they're good enough? No, he does not, because he looks to me, since the skin colors don't match very closely at all, that he was rushed out the door because he was good enough. And that is so frustrating, and here's why. Most lines that are in this price range, in like the $20 to $25 price range, I could give a crap about. They've got generic sculpts, there's not a whole lot of thought behind the brand or even the sculpts put into them. These have really good sculpts, and some of them can fit in really well with my 1/12 collection. And you see things like that, and you're just like, oh my gosh, man, just a couple more steps, you would have nailed this, it would have been perfect. No, they're never going to come with all the accessories that I want, and I understand that at this price point. But when you're so close and you couldn't match the skin color on an otherwise phenomenal figure, that's just one of those things that's highly frustrating. So it's one of those deals. I actually like the looks of many of the figures in this line, but I can't get into it beyond the 1/10 scale thing because there's just carelessness with nearly every figure. And once that stops, and once maybe they start charging a little more money and getting a little more deluxe pricing, throwing in a few more accessories, I might be happy to pick up figures like Lobo. Because like I said, you throw him in with a motorcycle, dog, and a couple fists along with this figure with a slightly, matched skin, I'm going to be all over it. Because it looks good. But hence, therein lies the frustration. So yeah, my final verdict here, Lobo does not change my mind on the DC Multiverse line. And folks, that's it when it comes to Lobo. Comment below, let me know what you think of the old bastich. And hey, more importantly, do you have any other DC Multiverse suggestions that you think I should pick up that you don't think I would look at and say, this thing was rushed out the door? Because obviously, I'm not against trying new things and trying to be proven wrong. I like it when toy companies prove me wrong, especially if I'm thinking they don't put out the best product out there. So, Give me any other DC Multiverse suggestions, and I'll see about picking them up and talking about them in the future. With that said, I'll be sure to leave links to Lobo and whatever else in the video description below. Those are Amazon affiliate links, so feel free to click on those. And if you're on Amazon anyway, anything you need to buy, go ahead and pick that up. That'll help out the channel. Thanks to affiliate links, so I'll get a little commission off it. It will be no extra charge to you, which is a pretty good deal all the way around. So thanks for that. Thanks for watching all the way through. I really appreciate all the subscribers. I appreciate the fact that so many of you are along for the ride with me, because, well, this is a whole lot of fun. So with that out of the way, folks, as always, have fun and happy snapping. See ya.